So I'm finally doing a video on Live Twin Spright because it took me a hot minute to get these alt art cards. I'm not gonna lie, it took me quite a few gems, and I got exactly one, count them, one of each alt art, so I couldn't even fill out the extra deck with these. I'm still using the budget options as the secondary copies of these. But don't worry. I'm gonna show you a combo where you don't have to show your opponent how poor you are by using the SR copies. You can get by with just using one of each of these and doing the and just using only the one copy of the alt arts you have of each. And I gotta say, this was like unintentionally just very flavorful by Konami, because it honestly felt like you were literally subbing to like these fucking VTubers channel in order to get these emotes to use. Except imagine how cancer it would be if you sub to like a channel and you didn't even get a guaranteed chance of getting an emote. Like you had an RNG chance of getting one of the emotes you wanted after subbing to them. Imagine how trash that must feel. But well, I don't have to imagine that. I'm sure there's a lot of my viewers, judging by the comments on that short I made, also don't have to imagine getting scanned by these. But yeah, so Live Twin Spright. How do I feel about Live Twin Spright as a deck this format? I think it's fine. It's like nothing too, like, it's not like gonna be a tier 1 deck or like one of the best decks you can play in the game, but it's also not bad. It's completely playable. I would say generally, if you know like how Centurion is, like how good Centurion is, I would say honestly Live Twin Spright is probably around the same power level as Centurion, which I know some people might take exception to that because there's a lot of people that are big fans of Centurion. Well, this deck is basically just a Centurion with like the different level monsters, like level 2 monsters instead of you make a level 2, you make a rank 2 Exceeds and link 2 monsters as opposed to, you know, level 12 synchros. But in general, it's like the same deck type. You have room for tons of non-engine, and you have one card combos. Specifically, this is the one Spright deck. The one advantage of playing Live Twin Spright over other Spright decks is that you have the most technically one card combos, and you have the best normal summons, because you have the most copies of normal summons that summon 2 level 2 monsters out. Like you see, I'm not even maxing out on these Live Twin monsters, but I'm running up to 10 copies of normal summons, where if I normal summon one, it gets a second level 2 monster out, and that makes this deck feel like it's impossible to hand trap a lot of times. And honestly, that's one of the biggest perks of playing this deck, which is like, this is one of the best decks in the entire game playing through hand traps. This includes all decks, by the way, even tier 1 decks. Like Yubel, for example, I would argue that this deck is as good at playing through hand traps, if not better than Yubel is. And it's similar to like playing, you know, trying to hand trap Mathmag when they open circular, right? Because it feels like no matter what you throw at them, it doesn't matter, since not only is every single normal summon a full combo, so it makes you want to hand trap the normal summon, but also every extender you have, most extenders, blue, jet, or starter, all of these also represent 2 to 3 bodies when you resolve their effects. So it's like you hand trap my normal summon, okay cool, summon one of these, I get 2 more bodies anyway, do full combo. Or like if you let this go, then I can just summon these anyways, then get a red or a carrot to negate the hand trap that you were holding anyways. And yeah, it's like you need 2, sometimes even 3 hand traps to prevent this deck from being able to combo off, since any 2 monsters in this deck is basically full combo because of Gigantic Spright. And just one Live Twin normal summon plus one of these good Spright extenders like blue, jet, or starter gives you like 5+ bodies, and then there's like no way one hand trap is stopping me from getting to all 5 bodies to be able to not only get the Gigantic Spright, but also potentially protect it with elf, or like an elf or a carrot or a red from a potentially second hand trap if I necessarily want to. But so oftentimes I don't even do that. Oftentimes I just let them make them think that I don't even have these, and then let them burn their hand traps on my Live Twin cards, and then Scythe combo them anyways after they've used up their hand trap prematurely. But yeah. Besides Maxi, you know, we'll ignore the Maxi because this is the one hand trap that will cook this deck. But every other hand trap, you know, the Biru, what's in the Biru, Bestials, Bestials can be annoying, but they're not like game enders. Like they're actually oftentimes only trading with one interruption, which is like most of the time it's your Lila Engrave, because they're not gonna be able to disrupt you on your turn with the Bestial because they're most likely gonna be under Gigantics, right? So then you at least you get to do your full combo still, and then you still have whatever left over, even without your lifetime pop. You know, you still have potentially like IP and Carrot, and then like whatever you search off of your Jet, and so on and so forth. And that's also, unlike with other decks, Bestials is not a way to stay alive versus Life Twin Spright. Life Twin, or just Spright in general, can OTK past all of these annoying monsters that chump block themselves, you know, like Nibiru, Bestials, Spirit of Yubel is a big one. None of those cards do shit against Spright because all you gotta do is just use Resolve Gigantics, right? And suddenly all those chump blockers that keep a lot of decks, that keep decks alive, even under a Maxi challenge, they're all useless. So yeah, and this deck definitely has OTK potential because there's actually like two separate ways to OTK. You have Gamma Burst, which gives you up 1400 attack per monster, so you know 1400 times 5, you do the math, that's OTK through anything on a clear board. But also, if they don't have a clear board, but they just have a big ass monster, you can just Ninja Shadow Mosquito plus 3 monsters, which in Spright, it's trivial to get 3 monsters alongside of rank 2 Xyz, and then you attack 3 times. If their monster has 2700 or more attack, they also die, and that also, you know, does not interact with Bestials or Spirit of Yubel, assuming they didn't get the Nightmare Pain, which you most likely you do have ways to deal with a Nightmare Pain as well in Spright, such as Smashers and like all the non-engine you run. So there's like if it's just the Spirit of Yubel trying to chump block them, it's not gonna work basically. And yeah, I will say that the power level of this deck and the end boards that this deck makes are a little more average to possibly maybe slightly below average. You know, it's more in line with, again, mid-range decks like Centurion, for example, that you're gonna probably end up anywhere between 2 to 4 interruptions depending on how many hand traps your opponent throws at you, and then, you know, you have all the non-engine. You're not gonna make like a 6 to 7 interruption board uninterrupted like Yubel or Fire King Snake Eyes or Ritual Beast makes. You know, this isn't that kind of deck. But at the same time, because this deck is, once again, very resilient to hand traps, you'll oftentimes be able to just always end on something, no matter what your opponent has. And then, you know, you're gonna have most likely a pop off the Lila, you're gonna have a Carrot or Red as a negate, and then potentially you can also even have an IP with good hands, or hands where your opponent doesn't interrupt too much. So that still gets you like 3 to 4 interruptions. And keep in mind that that's made with at max 2 cards in hand. So you still have 3 other cards in hand, which are almost always going to be non-engine. Not to mention the fact that you draw like multiple cards every turn. That again, I said that the Live Twin engine, it's like a runic engine, a mini runic engine in terms of the cards you draw. Except you don't lose your battle phase, since you're gonna draw 1 off of the summoning Ki-Sikil on your turn, and then you're gonna draw another off of Frost, and then you can potentially draw another off of summoning Ki-Sikil back on your opponent's turn. So that's at least 3 additional draws you can get from the Live Twin engine, which is, you know, matches the Fountain's draw 3 in 1 turn cycle, right? So yeah, and of course you're gonna draw into hand traps. You know, this deck has 15 hand traps, which is honestly even on the low side. You can even cut copies of Live Twin monsters to run even more hand traps if you wish. So yeah, don't be afraid think that this deck can't win against Tenpai because its board is too weak. That's not the case. Now, I will say though that I have played against this deck quite a bit, and by that I mean I played against this a lot in the Xyz and Link Festival, and I gotta say, people are doing some very interesting lines with this deck, and I can't exactly say that what they're doing is correct, and it's kind of a wild thing to say because this is not a hard deck to play at all. This is probably one of the easier decks to play in the game. In fact, if I were recommending a new player like a deck that's good enough to, like, you know, strong enough to get into Masters 1 but like simple enough to play, I would probably recommend them like Light Twin Spright, just because this deck is very simple and like very intuitive, honestly. Like what you have to do, you know, you have monsters, you have extended, you just summon them, right? But people be fumbling the bag so hard with this deck. Like people are fiend locking themselves so early that that I've seen them lock themselves out of gigantic. It's like there's no need to do that, you know? Like the trouble Sunny in here, this is a bait, okay? You're not actually supposed to make this card in your deck. I know like it's cool as the boss monster, but you're actually not supposed to make this turn 1 most of the time. Okay, like if you make this, the times you make this turn 1 are the times you actually get hand tapped to hell so much that you don't even resolve gigantic. So then like you might as well make this. But most of the time you're not actually making this. This is for follow up. Okay, this is a bait. So like I know this was in the loner deck and people were just tunneling on this, but this actually isn't your goal. You're actually supposed to go through the Spright lines, and the Spright lines, you know, lock you into level 2 and Link 2 monsters, so you actually can't even make this in your ideal turn 1 boards. So that's one thing. Number 2 is that people make IP Masquerena, and then half the time I'm wondering why they made IP Masquerena, because they locked themselves out of making SP on their opponent's turn. Why? Because people try to get cute and try to use these live twin effects first, because you know, save the IP into SP as a disruption for lax, because it's your stronger interruption, right? Well, these cards have text in that they lock you out of something from the extra deck except fiend monsters. So what would happen a lot of times is my opponent will have a board, you know, with like Ki-Sikil and IP Masquerena, right? And then they will go Evil Twin Ki-Sikil, summon back Lila, pop a card, okay, cool. Use IP Masquerena, then there will be a 10-second pause. You know what that pause is? It's them trying to figure out why the hell they can't make an SP Little Knight. Well, in case you're wondering, SP Little Knight is a warrior, so you cannot go into this after you use Ki-Sikil on your opponent's turn. So don't make that mistake, okay? I've seen that mistake way too often. Please, when you make IP Masquerena, please use the IP Masquerena first before you use your Ki-Sikil to revive back the Lila, okay? That's like the one of the most important things you have to know about this deck, and like it's really not that complicated, but just keep that in mind, okay? And I'll show you some combos, how I combo the deck and the end boards that I achieve, which for some reason I guess are kind of not standard, whatever that is for this deck, apparently, since I have an end board that's different from how most people set it up, as I've seen on the ladder. But yeah, it's not that complicated, and it's very simple to, like, when your opponent hand traps you, it's very simple to know what you do. It's like if they hand trap you, if you have the extender, you just summon the extender. That's it. It's like, and you pretty much do the same steps over and over again. It's yeah, don't be intimidated by this deck. So the build itself, okay, so first of all, we got 15 hand traps. You know, that's the most important part of any Spright deck, any mid-range deck. So yeah, the only really one that's, I guess, it's Valor and Ogre. You can debate on what other hand traps you can run. You could potentially run Bell. Bell's pretty good. I just feel like Bell doesn't have as much universal coverage as Ogre has. And Fire King Snake Eyes is like dying down in usage, and Fire King Snake Eyes is like the one deck where I don't want to see Ogre against, but against most everything else it's okay. I guess it's bad against Tyr as well, but Tyr has also seen a decrease in play for some reason. But Tyr also gets hit by, you know, Ash and by Valor and Imperm pretty hard, so that's still generally okay. And then obviously, you know, the Ogres, you need this versus a lot of Tenpai hands. But Bell, I can see also being run. You can cut potential copies of Valor or Ghost Ogre to run Bell as well. Bell is certainly not bad, and it works well with this deck because this deck is a little vulnerable to Call by the Grave sometimes. You know, you don't want to get your Evil Twin Link monsters called by the Grave. That's really annoying because then it turns them off for your turn as well, so you can't even use them as follow-up really. But yeah, Bell's okay as well. And for the live twin monsters, you're running 2 Ki-Sikil, 3 Lila, 2 Secret Passwords, 3 Sunny Stitch. The logic behind this is like the rule of 5 in like basic Yu-Gi-Oh deck building, where if you want to open exactly one of a card but not open 2, you run 5 copies of it. This way, you're on average, you're only going to open one between Secret Password plus Sunny Stitch, and then you're only going to open one between Ki-Sikil and Leela, which is what you want. You don't want to open multiple Leela or Ki-Sikil because these are normal summons, and you can only normal summon them once. You also don't want to open multiple Secret Passwords plus Sunny Snitch because the only target for Secret Password is Sunny Snitch. So if you open 2 of these, then one of them is going to be dead for your hand. So that's why we have 5. Now you could cut this down if you want to make this a clean 40. Cut the Secret Password, that's fine. You honestly don't need to run. You don't need this card at all. Like, this deck is actually fairly cheap if you open the Spright cards. Like, the Secret Password, this card is completely optional. Okay, there are builds that run 0 copies of this and are completely fine. Just throwing that out there. Okay, and then one of each of the extenders. Just, you know, depending on which one you open, this is why you want to ideally open one normal summon and then one of these. That way, you can normal summon one and then you can Sunny Snitch for the extender to get another free body on the field. It also plays through hand traps, you know, if people want to ash your normal summon too. So, yeah. Ki-Sikil Frost is the better one because it lets you draw on your opponent's turn. So generally, if you have the option, you want to start with Leela because Leela gets Ki-Sikil Frost, and Ki-Sikil Frost has a better effect. Leela Tree just has a battle attack reduction effect when your Evil Twin monster battles. It doesn't come up too often. In fact, I've literally never come up since I've been playing Live Twin Spright. So that shows how relevant that is. It's basically just an extender. Just look at it that way, and then, you know, maximum of the good Spright cards: 2 blue, 2 jet, 3 starter. Thank God we have 3 starter. This card's pretty crazy, and 1 of each of red and carrot. I don't think you need more of these. You generally, because you're not running a secondary engine, you know, like you're not running another level 2 monsters like the Nimble cards or Tri-Brigade cards. You always get access to red and carrot because you're always going to Gigantic for blue if you already didn't have it. But if you already did have it, then you would have access to these anyway. So, yeah. And then 1 Gamma Burst for OTA, and then Smashers is just generic removal. It's pretty standard. And the extra deck, 2 Gigantic. You could probably get away with 1. It's just that I like having 2 because oftentimes when my first one gets negated, I like going to the second one. You know, there are a lot. It does come up quite a bit where the first one doesn't resolve. And then Downer, Zeus, Ninja Shadow Mosquito for the OTK through big monsters. IP, 2 of each of the Evil Twins. Now, you only really need 1 Evil Twin Leela, I'm going to be honest. The second one doesn't come up that often, but it is the 15th extra deck card, so you have a lot of choices for what you want to run here, which I'll get to what I was running in place of this before. But yeah, 2 Elf, SP, Trouble Sunny, good for the follow-up since it's a big monster, and oftentimes you'll have like floating Evil Twin Link, so then it's very easy to go into this and just steal the end the game on the follow-up turn 3 very easily with this. Also, there's like certain lines where if you're really ballsy, you can go for the Trouble Sunny OTK with like a Gamma Burst or yeah, but obviously, you know, that requires tons of extenders. It requires you to be able to do your combo without accessing Gigantic Spright, so you need a pretty crazy hand for that. But yeah, also don't forget, this is removal, by the way. You can summon this and then sack it, and then it's non-targeting removal of any card in the grave, so yeah, keep that in mind. And Griffin, probably don't need this. Like, this is another flex spot. You could be like a Goddess, for example, that might come up. Griffin is basically just for random matchups where, you know, you can always get a co-link, or you can always get a Griffin that's like underneath the Elf Arrow very easily, and you make these with 2 Evil Twin. You make this with an IP and then like 1 of the Evil Twin links, because these are all linked 2, so you only need 2 monsters to make this. And then, yeah, if this is good in a matchup, you just make this, and then it's like game, like Pearly. Although nobody really plays Pearly anymore, so it's there's not very many matches where I can see this coming in, but like sometimes, you know, this does come up. And then I used to run Sprint. So the idea with Sprint is, I know it seems weird because you're not running the Nimble package, you're not running Nimble Angler, so why are you running Sprint? Well, this deck has a problem where if you don't open a Live Twin normal summon or any Live Twin monster, like even one of these extenders like Treat and Frost, it's fine. But if you don't open any of these 12 copies of cards in here, your board is actually very weak because you don't have access to live twins. In order to get your live twin engine live, you need access to both of these. And Gigantic Spright can only summon one. So if you don't start with either of these names, then you just simply cannot get to your live twin engine, and then you're just playing boneless Spright without any extra engines. So your end board is like Elf, IP, and like Carrot or something without any live twin engine. And the live twin engine is very important for a deck because it gives you like 2 to 3 draws plus an additional pop plus follow up. So yeah, and it also helps you play through hand traps. So having Sprint is a way to where if you only open Spright cards but you don't open live twin cards, you can theoretically use Sprint to get to your live twin engine, because you go Sprint, dump one name, and then you go Gigantic summon the other name. Now obviously that's kind of weaker. You don't have any bodies. You're pretty much ending on exactly one Ki-Sikil plus like a red or carrot at most pass. So it's like it's not the greatest board or anything, and it doesn't come up too often because I built this deck to where I have 12 copies of live twin cards. So most of the 85% chance I should open like a live twin monster, which then that should let me get the engine. This only comes up when you don't open any live twin monsters and your opponent, obviously doesn't hand trap you. So I cut this for like the second Lila. This also has not come up really often at all, and I don't want to summon this. I don't want to show my opponent how poor I am, but yeah, there's a lot of options for the 15th slot. So these are like 2 of like the best ones, I think. And also before anyone asks, so you can play Scythe in here. Definitely you can play Scythe. The thing is, the only matchup you want Scythe against is generally Tenpai, because that's like the one deck where they can actually just break through your full combo board with just all of their massively high amount of non-engine and board breakers. But the thing is, this never works against Tenpai, because if they hand check you even once, like, you actually just can't get the Scythe, and you have to make Dagda early, to set the Scythe. So when they see the Dagda, they're gonna be like, should I hand trap the Dagda or let them place a Scythe? I wonder what I should do. And even if they actually don't have a hand trap to actually stop your Dagda from setting the Scythe in the first place. Well, the problem with these is, with the way this deck Scythe blocks, is that you have to wait until the main phase to do so. Since the Evil Twin Link monsters, you're going to use Ki-Sikil to summon back the Lila to pop your own Scythe, right? But you can only use these Link monsters during the main phase. So if your opponent just simply goes first action Lightning Storm on your entire board, then you lose your entire board, and then you can't pop the Scythe anymore. And oftentimes when you're going through the Scythe line, you're foregoing like a copy of a red or carrot on the field because you're using them as an extender usually, unless your hand is really crazy. But that you can't really rely on like opening like a multiple 2-card combo hand and then fully resolving a combo through no hand trap versus Tenpai, right? Like, more often than not, this isn't gonna work against the one matchup you want this most against. But I mean, if you own this, feel free to try it. I'm sure it'll help you against other matchups that don't run as much non-engine as Tenpai. But generally, you don't really need like a floodgate against a lot of matchups. Your board plus non-engine is usually enough against most decks. It's just, yeah, it would be nice against the one deck that plays Sang Summoning as a miscellaneous source, plus all those board breakers. But again, that makes it not reliable against that deck. But yeah, so enough yapping. I'll show you some of the basic plays with this deck. So first is the basic 1-card combo. This is one of the classic hands. 4 hand traps plus 1 live twin monster. So yeah, obviously you're gonna add your live twin monster Lila when you have the option to choose, and then Lila get the Ki-Sikil Frost. These two go into Gigantic Spright, and then Spright summon out blue get Jet get Starter, and then you make Elf will revive Ki-Sikil. Make sure you revive Ki-Sikil, because when you're going turn 1, so one thing to note about which live twin to make is, if you want to draw a card, which means you're probably going first, you want to start by making Ki-Sikil. In order to make Ki-Sikil, you need a Ki-Sikil effect monster. If you want to pop a card, you start by making your first link as Evil Twin Lilla, and then that means you need to use a Lilla effect monster. So just keep in mind what you want to do, whether you want to draw a card or whether you want to pop a card. So because we're going first, we want to draw a card. We're gonna revive Ki-Sikil Frost, and then make a Ki-Sikil, and then Ki-Sikil will revive the Lilla. Now you're locked into Fiends, and then make the Lilla, and then Lilla will revive the Ki-Sikil, and then draw a card, and then link these two off into the second Ki-Sikil. So and then activate Spright Starter, and then get the carrot from deck. So the one card combo is when you use the Ki-Sikil, the second Ki-Sikil, to link off and put the Lilla into the grave. You don't have to do this, you could theoretically just leave both of these on the field and then summon Carrot, and that way you have like an extra body to trigger with Carrot, although that's generally not worth it. I think with the one card combo, it's more worth it to simply have the flexibility to summon back Lilla whenever you want. And yeah, this is the one card combo again. It's 2 interruptions, the Ki-Sikil pop, the Ki-Sikil reviving Lilla pop, plus the Carrot negate, plus 4 non-engine, plus we drew a card, plus we're gonna draw another card off of Ki-Sikil on our opponent's turn, and we're gonna draw another card off of Ki-Sikil Frost on our opponent's turn. So that's like 3 draws plus 2 interruptions. So it's not bad. You could make an IP as well with this by like summoning Carrot first, then making IP, then linking off the IP into Ki-Sikil. But then you wouldn't have access to your Carrot negate, so it makes you a bit weaker to like board break and stuff like that. And then yeah, we'll get into IP lines later, trust me. So yeah, our opponent's playing Pendulum, and they're gonna normal summon Supreme King, and this is why I hate playing Pendulum in Master Duel, because literally everyone just sets Imperm in the Pendulum column. So yeah, they're gonna normal summon Supreme King, and now because I opened double Imperm, my opponent is locked out of Pendulum effects for the entire game because of that. That's yeah, it's a bit rough, but they have the Ash for my Maxi, which honestly doesn't matter. At this point, I use Spright Elf to bring back the Jet, just so I have another potential thing to sack off with the Carrot if I don't want to sack on my Ki-Sikil immediately. So yeah, Jet is going to add Starter for follow-up. They're going to try to enter battle phase, to which I will use Ki-Sikil to bring back the Lilla, which I'm okay doing this to pop in the King. This for Green King is they have 3 cards in hand in their Pendulum deck, and one of their Pendulum zones is shut off. So like, what am I really scared of, right? They're gonna deal with Duelist Alliance, which I gonna negate by sacking the Ki-Sikil and then summoning back the Ki-Sikil immediately with the Lilla, and then draw another card. So yeah, I still have like a couple non-engine plus a couple more draws coming in as well. So yeah, standard 1 card combo, deceptively a lot to play through just because of the non-engine that you both run and potentially can draw into with their Life Twin cards. So this is like a standard 2 card combo where it's basically your Life Twin monster plus any extender. Doesn't matter what extender it is. Jet is ideal, but it could literally be anything that gets you an extra body. So it could be like a red, a Carrot, or just one of the Life Twin extenders as well. So this is about as complicated as the first turn combos will go for this deck. So yeah, Life Twin, Sunny Snitch, add Lilla, summon Lilla, Lilla gets out Ki-Sikil Frost, and then I'll summon Jet. Though my opponent has no responses, they didn't even think for a second, so I'm like, this is ladder, probably they don't have anything, so I'm just gonna go into Gigantic Dire away, so that way it plays around any Bestials and the Nibiru they have, and they didn't have anything, so now we summon Blue get Carrot, by the way. Yeah, Jet added a Starter, by the way, and then link these 2 into Elf summons back whatever, doesn't really matter right here, and then I will use Spright Starter to get a red from deck, link Lilla and red into an IP Masquerena, and then special Carrot, then Carrot will go into Ki-Sikil, and then Ki-Sikil summon back Lilla, go into Lilla, and then Lilla bring back Ki-Sikil and draw a card, nice, draw into Ash, and this is like the setup. So this is one way to set up the end board with the 2-card combo. The idea is that with the 2-card combo, you can end on an IP Masquerade as well. And the thing is that most people I've seen link off the Ki-Sikil and the Lila into a second Ki-Sikil, which, you know, I did for the 1-card combo. But for this combo, because we have the IP Masquerade, remember what I said about people fiend locking themselves because they use their Ki-Sikil before their IP Masquerade? Well, that happens a lot because people link these two off. And if you do that, then when people want to use the IP Masquerade, they're like, wait, what am I going to link off with? What am I going to use to link off with the IP Masquerade to go into SP, right? So that way people forget, and then they use the Ki-Sikil to bring back the Lila first. That way they have an extra material to use with IP Masquerade, right? But when you do that, you lock yourself out of making SP in the first place. So by keeping both of these on the field, that way I can ensure that my IP Masquerade has something to link off with first. So that way I will use IP Masquerade to link off the Lila to go into SP first. And then I can use the Ki-Sikil to summon back the Lila afterwards, so that I avoid the Fiend Lock. And also the Spright Elf is going to bring back the Carrot as Carrot or the Red, you know, depending on which one. Most of the time it's going to be Carrot for an extra negation. Now, I know what you're thinking. The problem is that this does not have a spell trap negate on the field. So against Tenpai, they can just Lightning Storm you for your life, which is absolutely true. And if you want to play around Tenpai, there's another way to do this combo, where basically, instead of having the IP Masquerade on the field, you have the IP Masquerade in the grave, and you have a Carrot on field. So basically, you instead of linking out the Carrot into the first Ki-Sikil, you link out the IP Masquerade into the first Ki-Sikil, and you keep the Carrot on board. That still works because as soon as your opponent summons a monster, they will control a monster, which means it will allow Spright Elf to summon back the IP Masquerade. So that's a way to do this. That's the other way to do this combo, and lets you have the Carrot on the field the entire time. Now, it is a little less flexible in what you can do because you have to wait until your opponent summons a monster before reviving back the IP Masquerade, because Elf needs a monster to be able to revive a Link too. And then you can't really use your Ki-Sikil or Lila before your opponent summons a monster, because then you would Fiend Lock yourself, and then the IP Masquerade wouldn't be able to run into the SP. So it's a little more like it's a little less flexible in how you can use interruptions. And obviously, if your opponent sets 5, that's like the ultimate disaster, because then they never summon a monster, and then you can never get back the IP Masquerade. So like that would be an issue. But in general, if your opponent like made you go first, and you know they're probably on Tenpai, and you want to keep the Carrot up first, that's what you would do. So I hope that made sense to you. That Yap says. But yeah, my opponent, they're not playing Tenpai, so that means that this board is really hard to play through. So they're gonna Ostinato, you know, we're gonna use the Ash that we drew off the Ki-Sikil, and then they're gonna cross out Designator, just whatever. At this point, I'm just gonna use Elf, remap the Carrot, so I have the Carrot negate up as soon as possible. And then they're gonna Ostinato for Baka, and then we're gonna Infern the Baka. So I know, okay, I know people, this is another ruling people get mixed up. It says Baka, while you control this fusion summon card, the activated effects of your Melodious Fusion monsters cannot be negated. If you have Imperm or Valor, just ignore that, because Imperm and Valor is negating the entire effect, which means it also negates the part where it says that your Melodious monsters can't be negated. So basically, Imperm and Valor work on Baka. Don't be afraid, okay, to use them on this. So yeah, we're gonna negate the Baka. And then they're going to activate Couplet from hand, which at this point I'm just going to use IP to go into SP and then banish the Couplet, so I don't want them to add the other fusion spell. And they're going to normal summon Refrain, which is whatever. We're going to use these two to go into Beyond the Pendulum. Not use the Beyond the Pendulum effect, and just use the Baka effect to revive, which at this point I have the Call by the Grave, and I have the SP, so the SP is going to banish the Beyond the Pendulum, and the Call by the Grave is going to banish it's going to negate the Baka, and then I still have a Carrot negate, I still have Ki-Sikil pop, so, and I still am going to draw a card off of the, well, I would have drawn a card off the Ki-Sikil Frost if my opponent managed to add a monster or add a card to their hand, but they just never even got a chance to add anything to their hand. So they just lost their entire, they just used up their entire hand and didn't end with anything on board. Alright, so this hand is basically the most combo heavy hand you'll see. This is like a 3-card combo. It's like Live Twin, normal summon plus 2 extenders, and this lets you end on everything, quote unquote everything in this deck. So yeah, you'll summon your Live Twin, get the other one from deck, use your Sunny Stitch, add the other Live Twin extender, summon that, go gigantic, leave the Ki-Sikil Frost on the field just in case, you know, if your opponent had some kind of interruption for gigantic strike, you still have the Ki-Sikil Frost on the field, and then you can still make a Leela out of this. And we have the Spright Blue into the Carrot, and then go into Spright Elf, Revive, doesn't really matter, summon Jet add Starter, and then Starter get Red, go into IP Master Arena, and then go into Ki-Sikil, and then Ki-Sikil bring back the Lila, bring back the Ki-Sikil, draw a card, and then special summon the Carrot, and then yeah, this is a max end board, okay, which is a IP Master Arena, both Evil Twin links, so that way you always have one to link off the IP Master Arena, and you also have one to sack off the Carrot too, since you have the extender, you get to end with the Carrot on board, so it's just good to leave these two up as well. And again, I forgot to mention the most important part. You don't have to show your opponent that you're poor, and you don't actually have multiple copies of the Live Twin alt arts. So yeah, that's the most important part of this combo. And yeah, our opponent's gonna go Nectar Valley, which Nectar Valley is gonna get banished with the IP into SP. So bye. Then they're gonna normal summon Thunder King, and then they're gonna set 3. For some reason, I don't know why they set 3 before the battle phase, but yeah, that just lets me pop one in their back row, and I'm popping their back row because we hard drew the Gamma Burst. Gamma Burst is broken against stun decks because damage step Gamma Burst. See ya, Thunder King. You have 3 cards in hand, and then Spright Elf is gonna bring back the Spright Jet, which is gonna search a Smasher. Then I have Smasher plus Carrot to deal with both remaining back row on my opponent on my follow-up turn. So yeah, that was just kind of bullying stun, but I know you know many people wouldn't be opposed to that. So all right, so time for a real replay, and I know it says I go first, but I'm gonna just like spoil it. My opponent's on Tenpai, and they also maxi me when I don't have an out. So yeah, this is like the one hand chat that cooks me, maxi. So I am going to change Starter to the maxi just to give them less draws, and then I'm gonna special summon Carrot from deck, and now I end on Carrot plus Inperm through 1 maxi draw, which is like not the best. Not gonna lie, only two weak interruptions, which versus Tenpai. Thankfully, my opponent didn't draw a good hand either, so they're gonna destroy my back row, and then they're gonna activate Prosperity. Okay, I don't get this. Okay, I don't get this. First of all, lol pre-ban list, LOL. Imagine playing pre-ban list. Okay. Number 2, they banished 3. Okay, why the hell did they banish 3? Because look what happened. They're gonna reveal Gamma called by Gamma. By the way, imagine playing pre-ban list. Lol. Yeah, they're gonna add a Gamma, okay? Which I'm like, okay, so they're gonna force on, like, do they have like a Sangan something or something? No, they have nothing. What the hell is? Why did you Prosperity for 3 if you didn't have a play? What are you doing? What? Username checks out. Mistake. Okay, so it passes it back to me, and I'm like, surely I got this, right? So I'm gonna special Spright Blue, add Red, and then they're gonna chain Maxi. So second Maxi. Okay. Second maxi of the game. So instead, I'm gonna normal summon Red. F you. I'm not gonna even give you that extra. I'm gonna go into Gigantic Spright, and then activate Gigantic Spright, and it gets Ash. So that's unfortunate. I was expecting like I checked the Gamma with the Red, and then after you negate the Gamma once, the Gigantic Spright resolves, and then they can't summon the Gamma anymore because Driver is not a level 2 monster. Unfortunately, they drew the Ash. So the Ash, I cannot red this because if I red the Ash, they're just going to Gamma my Red, and then it's just going to get negated anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to let that go and use the Spright Starter. Spright Starter, get Jet add Gamma Burst. Then I enter Battle Phase. And I'm like, surely this is game, right? I have a Carrot for the 1 back row, and then I have a Gamma Burst, right? Okay, so I attack, I attack, and then they flip Super Poly. Okay, I should have known, honestly, that I was like, if it was Inperm, they probably would have tried to use it earlier or something, but it's because it's Super Poly, that's probably why they felt okay passing with just a Gamma in hand, and then they're gonna go into Garou, and then they live with 1100, so yeah, that's unfortunate, and I'm gonna have to pass it back to them, because I don't want to give them any more Max E draws. They didn't open Engine before, so like, hopefully they didn't see Engine with the 2 draws I gave them this turn. And yeah, they're gonna enter battle phase and attack over Spright. So yeah, wow, well, what a great, nice Tenpai deck, by the way. Nice Tenpai deck. Yeah, they're gonna normal summon Hydra and add Kaiman. So I also don't get this. Hey, activate Kaiman, which I'm gonna negate. I have a carrot on field. What is this? What is this play? Why not? Why didn't you? Okay, whatever. Okay. Imagine there was a Seals on board, my life would have been a lot harder. Imagine they made SP, if they made an SP, I would have lost. Honestly, I would have lost. But this is probably why they didn't, because they have the 3rd Max Seed, by the way. Look at this grave. Very nice Tenpai deck. Yeah, you have 1 Tenpai card and like 7, 8 non-engine in the grave. Sick. Sick deck. Anyway, I drew the call. I don't even know if it's correct to call by. Like, I probably shouldn't even have called by this, because what am I afraid of? Like, they're at 1100, okay? They're dead. But, yeah, I'm gonna normal summon the Lila Treat now. And, because this carrot was a trooper, this carrot lived on the field for 5 turns, by the way. This one lone carrot stayed on the field that long. What a trooper. They go into Gigantic, and they don't have response, so I'm like, you know how much life points you're at, sir? And I have the Gamma Burst Engrave. Don't forget, Gamma Burst has an Engrave effect. If you somehow don't kill your opponent off of the Gamma Burst, well, it still boosts the attack on your monsters. And that was definitely enough to OTK, well, not OTK, but to kill through 1100 life points my opponent had. But yeah, that's yeah, basically this entire duel was my opponent's username. So yeah, to all my VTuber enjoyers, I hope you guys have good luck, or have had good luck with your Evil Twin alt art pulls. And if you haven't, I'm sorry, my condolences. I know the feel, it's rough. Yeah. And please stop fiend locking yourself before you use IV Master Arena. That's the last time I'll say that.